Parts of Newfoundland and Labrador are up in flames this Wednesday night.
Bodies, houses gone, people's lives turned upside down.
The evacuations and what the province may do to try to prevent new wildfires. The U.S. Health Secretary cancels funding for mRNA vaccine development programs, why critics call it a bad day for science. The potential itinerary of a strike at Air Canada.
We're incredibly hopeful that there won't be job action.
When flight attendants could walk off the job and what travelers need to know. Plus, 80 years since an atomic bomb exploded over Hiroshima. Fears rise about the potential of nuclear warfare.
Global National with Donna Friesen.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. Newfoundland and Labrador's premier says all hands are on deck to fight 3 out-of-control wildfires in that province. Some residents on the northern shore of Conception Bay fear their homes may not have survived the biggest fire. It doubled in size overnight and has burned more than 1,400 hectares. The number of communities, roughly 130 kilometers northwest of St. John's, are under evacuation orders right now. Heidi Petracek explains what evacuees are going through and what the premier is considering to prevent the emergency from escalating.
Hey, you gotta be good.
It's another night sleeping in his truck for David Hollett, with his 2 dogs, 2 turtles, and pet rabbit tucked in with him.
So that's my rabbit Phoebe.
He hasn't seen his house in nearby Adams Cove since he fled Wildfire Monday.
I'm in the truck sleeping, and I close my eyes and all I see is flames.
An elementary school 20 minutes away is now a comfort center for those forced from their homes by the raging wildfire.
Bodies, houses gone, people's lives turned upside down.
Video from a local volunteer firefighter shows the fire's intensity Monday when it claimed half a dozen homes. It doubled in size Tuesday night to more than 1,400 hectares.
It's stressful, mixed emotion, people are frustrated.
The mayor of one affected community shares the emotions of residents experiencing their second wildfire evacuation of the season.
This is the extent that it moved yesterday.
Curtis Delaney is concerned the recent rash of fires is suspicious.
This is being taken as far as it can go in order to find out the root cause of these fires. And, if someone is fingered for this, hopefully, they'll be arrested and be held responsible.
RCMP asking for tips from the public.
I want to assure you that active investigations into wildfires have been reported and are ongoing.
With firefighting resources stretched, extra aircraft have been sent from New Brunswick to help. Despite a provincial burn ban going into effect Tuesday, bonfires were reported in St. John's overnight.
It is nuts.
The premier says he intends to increase fines for burn violations to deter carelessness.
The island is a tinderbox. Nobody wants to be responsible for burning down communities. So please, just think about the consequences of your actions.
While crews focus on beating yet another wildfire, they're also hoping this one is the last. Heidi Petracek, Global News, Halifax.
Fire crews in Western Canada are in a slightly better position. Firefighters in BC are making progress in containing a 500-hectare fire near Cameron Lake, partly thanks to some light rain that's expected to continue through tomorrow. Wet weather in Saskatchewan is also easing wildfire worries in Waskesiu, and a pre-evacuation alert was lifted for Prince Albert National Park. It is not all good news, though. Most of the north-central prairies and parts of northwestern Ontario are still under air quality warnings because of wildfire smoke. In California, rising temperatures are challenging firefighters battling a massive wildfire. The Gifford Fire has become the biggest blaze in that state this year. It's burning in a remote area of central California, which has steep and challenging terrain. 4 people have been injured. Hundreds of homes and other structures are under threat. Temperatures reached the mid-30s today and are expected to rise tomorrow. There are also air quality warnings across the U.S. because of wildfire smoke from California and Canada. And in southern France, the largest wildfire in that country in over 70 years has taken a deadly turn. 1 person was killed and 13 others injured, most of them firefighters, as the fire burned a swath of land as big as Paris overnight. The country's prime minister is calling it a catastrophe on an unprecedented scale and is warning that shifting winds could make the situation even worse tomorrow. Prime Minister Mark Carney met with his cabinet and with Canada's premiers today, less than a week after the U.S. president ramped up his trade war with Canada. Donald Trump imposed a baseline 35% tariff on goods not covered by the existing free trade agreement. How to deal with Trump and whether Canada should retaliate is part of the discussion. And Trump is not only targeting Canada, his trade war is global. Today, he claimed his actions are helping bring tech jobs back to the U.S.
When can we expect tariffs to change, sir? While publicly quiet on the trade war, the Prime Minister privately updating his cabinet and the premiers.
I'm 100% supportive of the Prime Minister and the federal government. He's a brilliant businessman.
Ontario Conservative Premier Doug Ford has been Mark Carney's biggest booster, but he's been an outspoken critic on the need to hit back against Donald Trump.
I still stand by what I say, dollar for dollar, tariff for tariff. They understand strength, not weakness.
In a recent Angus Reid poll, 59% of Canadians supported Ford's call for more tariffs, which have brought in $2.4 billion in revenue for Ottawa in April and May alone, a 179% increase from the previous year. But that number could soon drop after Mark Carney mused about cutting counter tariffs.
We look at what we can do for our industry that's most effective. In some cases, that will be to remove tariffs.
After the meeting, Ford concerned about losing the exemption that free trade goods have from the tariffs.
He could pull the carpet out from underneath us on CUSMA tomorrow with one signature. So let's be prepared. I think it'll be coming in November, in my opinion.
November, ahead of the scheduled review period for the Canada-US-Mexico free trade deal, leading the Natural Resources Minister to hint Canada might be holding back on U.S. retaliation right now to save cards for the next trade fight.
Our goal is also to set us up as best we can for the CUSMA review.
Trump's goal, to use tariffs to create instability to force jobs back to the U.S.
We'll be putting a tariff on of approximately 100% on chips and semiconductors. But if you're building in the United States of America, there's no charge.
Carney and Hodgson will consult with Métis leaders in Ottawa on Thursday, Donna, to discuss the Liberals' goal to try and build major new infrastructure projects to make the Canadian economy less reliant on the U.S. market.
Okay, Mackenzie Gray, thank you. The American Health Secretary has pulled the plug on funding for developing mRNA vaccines that were first used during the COVID-19 pandemic. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., a longtime vaccine skeptic, falsely claims they're ineffective against respiratory viruses. There is plenty of evidence mRNA vaccines were pivotal in saving lives. And as Eric Sorensen reports, removing them from the toolbox to fight future pandemics would be a major setback.
It's been 5 years since the COVID-19 pandemic killed millions, overwhelmed healthcare systems, and emptied the streets worldwide. And the virus would have done much more harm if not for the swift development of mRNA vaccines by companies like Moderna and Pfizer. But vaccine skeptics have long questioned their effectiveness, including President Trump's new Secretary of Health and Human Services, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. He's now canceled $500 million in vaccine projects.
HHS has determined that mRNA technology poses more risk than benefits for these respiratory viruses. One mutation and the vaccine becomes ineffective.
Top infectious disease experts say mRNA vaccines are safe and effective.
In terms of producing and mass producing vaccines, the mRNA platform has shown tremendous adaptability.
The hard evidence, vaccines saved lives and reduced misery during COVID. In Canada, during the peak outbreak of the Delta variant from July to December 2021, there were 153 cases of COVID per 100,000 population among unvaccinated, but just 25 cases per 100,000 for those who'd completed their vaccinations. Same for hospitalizations and deaths from COVID. Much higher incidences among the unvaccinated compared with those who got vaccines.
Stopping research on new vaccines is very concerning because it's been a really big breakthrough. It led to a Nobel Prize, and to cut that off now just makes no sense at all.
Sowing doubts about vaccine research comes at a time when more people are vaccine hesitant. In Canada, the number of measles cases in 2025 has spiked compared with any other year in this century. Dr. Isaac Bogosh says it's important to combat vaccine misinformation and increase research here at home.
It's time for Canada and other countries to step up and fund the research that will no longer be done in the United States.
Experts say reducing vaccine research is unwise because someday another pandemic will surely come. Eric Sorensen, Global News, Toronto.
In areas of southern China, insecticide is being sprayed to kill mosquitoes. It's an effort to combat an outbreak of the chikungunya virus. More than 7,000 cases have been documented so far, most of them on the mainland near Hong Kong. The virus is transmitted by infected mosquitoes and can cause fever and severe joint pain. It's believed to be the largest outbreak of the virus ever documented in China. In Gaza, local health officials say at least 38 more Palestinians have been killed trying to get food. 20 of them died when a truck carrying humanitarian aid reportedly overturned. Palestinians are scrambling to try to get food and basic supplies that are trickling into Gaza. Another 25 people, including women and children, died today in Israeli airstrikes. Israel's prime minister is expected to convene his security cabinet tomorrow. Benjamin Netanyahu is said to be considering a full military occupation of Gaza. Israel's military chief of staff has reportedly pushed back on that, warning soldiers could end up trapped in the territory. Russia's president met the U.S. special envoy in Moscow today. President Trump claims it was highly productive. The White House says Trump intends to meet with the Russian president and Ukraine's president next week. Russia describes the three-hour meeting today as constructive, but new secondary U.S. sanctions are still expected to kick in on Friday if Putin fails to reach a peace deal with Ukraine. Trump announced today he is imposing an additional 25% tariff on India to punish India for importing oil from Russia. That increases U.S. tariffs on India to 50%. In Texas, there is an ugly political battle underway. Republicans are pushing to redraw congressional maps, trying to secure 5 more seats in a narrowly divided Congress. It is a tactic called gerrymandering, and it's triggered an intense fight between blue and red states. As Jackson Prosco explains, Democrats are drawing up their own plans to retaliate.
A political power grab for control in Washington.
It is evident to the chair the quorum is not present.
Has brought the Texas legislature to a standstill after dozens of state Democratic lawmakers fled, disrupting a vote on Republican plans to redraw the electoral map to benefit President Donald Trump.
What is happening in Texas isn't just a state injustice. It is a national alarm bell.
The Democrats have hunkered down in Illinois and Massachusetts as Texas Governor Greg Abbott threatens them with arrest or expulsion if they don't come back to resume business.
There's no veneer of we're doing this because the current maps are unfair. Donald Trump has just said, I'm entitled to 5 more seats in Texas and has gotten the Texas Republicans to try and draw a map that gives him those.
If approved, the Texas redistricting plan could all but guarantee Trump's party 5 more seats in the narrowly divided Congress.
And we are entitled to 5 more seats.
Redistricting usually happens every 10 years after the census. Texas Republicans are now rushing to do it before the 2026 midterms, what could be a difficult election for Republicans. Trump has said he'd like to see other Republican states do the same.
Whether it's tomorrow or next week, the House will complete its required duties.
As many as 5 other states are threatening to redraw their maps to benefit Trump. That has opened the door for Democratic governors in New York and California to vow retaliation with their own partisan gerrymandering.
They're leaving us no choice. We must do the same.
Whatever they are doing will be neutered here in the state of California.
But Trump isn't backing down. He's even suggesting the FBI should get involved in bringing the Democratic lawmakers back to Texas so that the redistricting vote can move ahead. Jackson Prosco, Global News, Washington.
Job action might be waiting in the wings at Air Canada. Coming up, the advice to the airline's passengers. Jewelry and accessory store Claire's is filing for creditor protection in Canada after making a similar move in the U.S. Claire's CEO says it's necessary because of increased competition, consumer spending trends, and the ongoing shift away from brick-and-mortar retail. The retailer operates more than 2,500 stores in 17 countries. It says Claire's stores in North America will remain open while it explores what it calls strategic alternatives. Negotiations are set to resume on Friday between Air Canada and a union representing more than 10,000 flight attendants. Yesterday, union members overwhelmingly approved a strike mandate. It means they could serve strike notice as early as August 16th. Felicia Parrillo looks at how that could impact late summer travel.
The possibility of a strike at Air Canada is becoming more real.
We're asking for wages to obviously be increased, an end to unpaid work, and then an array of other things dealing with crew complement, so how many flight attendants are on board, crew fatigue, rest periods.
The possibility of a strike is raising concerns about flight delays and cancellations. Air passenger rights advocate Gabor Lukash says if your trip is urgent and time-sensitive, buying a refundable ticket on another carrier as a backup plan may be a good idea. But for others, a threat of a strike shouldn't affect passengers.
Once the airline cancels your flight, then the airline becomes responsible to you for rebooking you for alternate transportation, and also if you're traveling internationally, for meals and accommodation.
Experts warn if flight attendants walk off the job, it'll essentially suspend Air Canada's services.
This will be the first test for the Carney government in terms of their willingness to legislate or to order employees back to work. I think Air Canada is counting on the government to order employees back to work. I'm not sure that's easier said than done.
Even though members voted in favor of a strike, that doesn't necessarily mean one will occur. The union says it can issue a 72-hour strike notice as early as August 16th if an agreement isn't reached. Meanwhile, Air Canada says it firmly believes there's more than enough time to reach an agreement. Both sides are expected to return to the bargaining table on Friday. Felicia Parrillo, Global News, Montreal.
Air Canada is changing how its members earn points with its loyalty program. The airline says starting next year, Aeroplan members will accrue points based on dollars spent rather than distance traveled. Air Canada is also simplifying how its members earn elite status. The changes align Aeroplan with industry trends at most major airlines. A blockbuster signing made official ahead, the message from a soccer legend to his Canadian fans. Canadian tennis player Victoria Mboko defied the odds at the National Bank Open in Montreal tonight. Even after hurting her wrist, the 18-year-old from Toronto won the semi-final match against Elena Rybakina and will move on to the finals tomorrow. Mboko entered the tournament on a wild card draw, ranked outside the top 300 players. Now it's guaranteed she'll make the top 50. After weeks of speculation, it's confirmed one of the best German soccer players is going to play in Canada.
Dear Whitecap supporters, I'm very excited to come to Vancouver. Let's do something special together.
German legend Thomas Mueller gave a shout-out to Vancouver Whitecaps fans today as the team made the blockbuster signing official. Mueller is one of the most decorated players to join Major League Soccer. He's won every major European title with Bayern Munich and a World Cup trophy with the German national team. Mueller said talking to ex-Bayern teammate and former Whitecap Alphonso Davies helped cement his decision to join Vancouver. Two of the biggest names in entertainment have reportedly sealed a multi-billion-dollar deal that is set to deliver a major shakeup in sports media. Disney has struck a wide-reaching deal with the National Football League for control of key media assets, including the NFL Network and popular Red Zone channel. In exchange, the league will take a 10% ownership stake in Disney's ESPN. Estimates value the agreement to be in the neighborhood of $3 billion U.S. Survivors speak out next. The calls for peace 80 years after an atomic bomb was dropped on Japan. Years ago today, Hiroshima, Japan was strewn with bodies too damaged to identify, destroyed by an American atomic bomb. Today, in front of the only building left standing where that bomb exploded, a tribute to the more than 140,000 lives lost, and a call from the mayor for the world not to disregard what happened there. The survivors are now 80 years old or more, and soon there will be no one left with firsthand accounts of the horror. The mayor of Hiroshima says policymakers around the world should visit to see with their own eyes what atomic bombs can do. Redmond Shannon has more on the day's powerful images and the solemn calls for peace.
8:15 a.m. in Hiroshima on August 6th. The exact time in 1945 when the United States detonated the world's first atomic bomb used in war. Japanese and foreign dignitaries mark a moment that changed the world forever by a cenotaph reading, "We shall not repeat the evil." Peace activists gather nearby too, among them Yasuyo Yamane, born a month after the bombing. These petals peacefully floating in a river that was filled with desperate burn victims 80 years ago. Tens of thousands died instantly in Hiroshima, incinerated by a bomb named Little Boy. Tens of thousands more suffered agonizingly slow deaths. 3 days later, a second bomb on Nagasaki forced Japan's surrender and the end of the Second World War. Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba said he pledges to work with all his strength for a world without nuclear wars and weapons, acknowledging that today the world is far from at peace. Anti-war protesters say Ishiba's words ring empty as long as Japan refuses to ratify the 2021 treaty on the prohibition of nuclear weapons. Sitting beside a nuclear North Korea, Japan relies on the nuclear deterrent of its now ally, the US. Nobel Peace Laureate Masako Wada is a Nagasaki survivor.
If nuclear weapons are used for the third time, there will no longer be anyone left alive to happily observe the effect and the consequences.
As the day drew to a close, the thoughts of locals and foreigners turned again to the victims.
It's pretty heavy. I mean, there's, a lot of very visceral reminders of what the absence of peace, I suppose, means.
Redmond Shannon, Global News, London.
That is Global National for this Wednesday. I'm Donna Friesen. Tonight's Air Canada showcases Montreal's Clock Tower, a patriotic vehicle at a car show in Bruno, Saskatchewan, and a view from Westville, Nova Scotia. Please keep them coming. Send your pictures of Canadian pride to Global National at globalnews.ca. And thanks for watching. Hope to see you here again tomorrow. Bye-bye.